here to a very special edition of the Bobcat Buzz here in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Bryant Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora under Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. I am here, not even picture in picture. We're in the same room. Look, we could do this. So Alex Grigorita is here with me. We are hanging out inside of this wonderful Bobcat Buzz with the women's soccer head coach, coming off of another opportunity at a national championship, playing in the national championship game. And so for this edition of the Bobcat Buzz on campus at Bryant Stratton of Syracuse, Alex, how are you?
It's a beautiful day in central New York. We keep waiting for some snow and keeps delaying for some reason,
It's not snowing right now.
I'm hoping for a white Christmas. I don't know. We'll see how it works.
Yeah, I always want a white Christmas because Christmas morning you're usually at home.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with having a white Christmas because I'll be with my dog. I'm in the comfort of my own house. It's fine. But not having ice on the ground and a lot of snow on the ground. We've been blessed because last year it went to the North Country and to the south of us. And this year, so far, there's been snow around us, but not in Syracuse. And I feel like now that I've said that, there's going to be snow in Syracuse. But
I do feel like we've been blessed for the past 5 to 7 years with very little snow overall, so it just doesn't even look like Syracuse. And again, don't get me wrong, like I wasn't born or here, but just from the stories and stuff, I remember, like people always tell me about, how much snow we used to get around here. That's not the case anymore, so it just kind of makes me a little sad at the same time excited. I don't have to wake up every morning, and go outside and try to find my car or something, or my dog when they go outside, my dogs.
So Moldova, does it snow over there?
It's very similar situation.
Okay.
Me growing up, oh my God, we used to walk to school because, of course, we walked to school. We didn't have buses and stuff like that. So I used to walk to school probably close to, oh my goodness, a mile and a half, maybe a little bit more. So we walked to school in snow, all bundled up and stuff like that. Like in the past, probably 10 to 15 years, not anymore, not as much. So certainly, the weather shifted a little bit. So very similar weather, maybe a little bit warmer, than central New York, but certainly changed. We don't get the snow anymore, because again, me growing up, for my birthday, which is end of November, we used to have snow, lots of snow, not anymore, so that's kind of, we go close.
Yeah. I've had, I think, all 4 seasons on my birthday and October 21st. So I've witnessed 70 degrees, snow, rain, leaves. So a little bit of every season here. But speaking of the season, you went all the way to the end of your season again at Bryant Stratton of Syracuse when we're looking at this women's soccer team.
Yep.
Just what you could say to, we were sitting in the same room just a few weeks back with your team, watching the screen for the release of what seed you were going to be. I looked at you before we started and I said 2. And I know that there was a thought of maybe a 3 seed. What can you say that going into the tournament, the USCAA regarded you as one of the top 2 teams in the nation this year?
It certainly shows our consistency, and what we've done here at Bryant Stratton, as far as a women's program, men's program, overall soccer, now basketball, is having a fantastic season, so it's, and I always, there are opinions, it's easy to be a top seed in the USCAA, it's easy. Well, it's not easy, like it would be easy, everyone probably would do it and would be so much, it's competitive, it's a lot of work, it is certainly this year, and I said this every year, but this year took certainly a lot out of me, and probably I had to use all my coaching experience and knowledge and long hours, like watching, not so much film, but just kind of watching and getting some ideas to understand exactly what I need to do, what needs to happen, and for us to improve and to get better, to be where we wanted to be. And I couldn't be more grateful to the players and the coaching staff, that players that embrace my vision, my ideas, like we had a fantastic group this year, fantastic mix of experience and younger players coming, and certainly helping us right away. and the coaching staff who is always in my corner, always on my side, there. And it showed, like we did have some individual recognition, we did have some individual recognition for the coaching staff as well, so, and that speaks volumes about our level, about our success, but at the same time our consistency and our hard work that we put in every single year and every single day. And just being right there in the higher seed, I always talk the importance. Players do not understand at the beginning of the season. They just don't. The overall players, they kind of take day at a time. They don't look, too much forward, which I'm okay with that, like, because I will always ask them to focus on the process and take one day at a time, while us coaching staff, we do have to kind of look a little bit forward and plan a little bit. And that extra day or that day, like you have rest, it certainly played a huge role for us, because we played against University of Maine for Kent. Was kind of our final game of the pool. We went on the extra time. We went on PKs, like, and having that extra set of fresh leg or an extra day off comparing to them, it helped. At the same time, it doesn't help because we played the team prior, a team that was from Texas, coming as a number 6 seed. They were excited, first appearance, so they certainly played the best game of the season against us. Next day, playing against Maine, they were already tired, and they gave up after 60 minutes. They just couldn't run anymore. With couple injuries, like their bench got much shorter, so there are advantages, disadvantages. End of the day, you still got to show up, you still got to go on the field and do your best and play, whatever it takes. 90 minutes, extra time, PKs, and you still gotta execute.
Yeah, and like you said, looking at the fact that you have to, as a coach, look so far ahead, but you have that staff, you have that support system. What can you say to your staff to kind of shout them out and talk about who has helped you along the way, who helped you this season?
Yes. Well, I have 3 coaches, and totally 3 personalities, 3 different personalities, and I can't really weigh the input, like how much input. Everyone has a certain support, a certain style, they all different in their approaches, different in their communication skills, different in their communication skills with me, so obviously, I have Coach Kevin and Coach Anthony who've been with me. Oh my God, I don't even know how many years, like, and they might not be like day to day in practices, like as much due to their other full-time responsibilities, and obligations. But those are coaches that they know me, I know them well, and we work well together. They're not afraid to tell me exactly how it is if they see something wrong and stuff. Total opposite as personalities, and probably that's why I love them so much, like to have them on my staff. And this year, for the first time, we had Coach Sylvie, who came right away and hit the ground running. Her support, and she was that coach who was with us every single day, every single practice, making that connection, between coaching staff and the players, being comfortable, discussing some topics, that maybe coaching staff or, like a male coach is not quite, comfortable or stuff. She was a fantastic addition and probably one of our most important kind of, how we can say, acquisition of the season, so was certainly Coach Sylvie. She came open-minded, she came ready to learn and ready to help, and I couldn't be more grateful and more proud of her development overall, and her support, so I'm grateful to all of them, and when we were awarded as a coaching staff of the year, this year, and again, USCAA recognizes the coaching staff because we truly one team. I equally, share the award with every single coach in my staff.
Coach Sylvie, what made you want to bring her on this year?
The story is long, super long, so was part of almost like a package deal, that we were discussing with some players, and continuing with Bryant Stratton and stuff, and quite frankly, she's been around the program for the past 2 years, like she would come with us on off season and just kind of join and play a little bit, like she would come to our games and just support the team. So I had a chance to get to know her, until this year the topic of the conversation came, like for her to join us. And without any hesitation, I said, like, yes, of course, like, not a problem at all. I'll take as many coaches as I can, because I understand, first of all, for the most part, they truly volunteer their time.
Yeah.
And second, when somebody wants to be here, wants to be part of the program, wants to be a huge support and learn, I'm not afraid to share my knowledge. I'm not afraid to help them, develop and stuff. I'm always for it, like, and that's an advantage for us, and actually speaks volumes that coaches are willing to be part of our program. They want to be here, and they want to volunteer their time. That speaks volumes, and I'm super happy that I have, and I feel fortunate to have these people around me, and helping our program.
And so when you see this program grow and develop over time in your time here, there's this, like you said, I mean, there's no complacency for you, right? You've won a national championship. You did that in 2021. And really coming off of so many things that were going on with COVID as well.
Yep.
So you win that championship, but you've played for so many of them. What, as a coach, do you take away from looking at your history and saying, we've been in the national championship game numerous times. We've won one national championship. We've been the runner-up. I know that they say that there's no award for second place, but there's something to the level of consistency that you're playing for a national championship. I mean, you look at the World Series and how inconsistent it is for a franchise to get back for the majority of them. Super Bowl, how a team that makes the Super Bowl might not even make the playoffs the next year.
Yep.
Or make even close to that. You look at the NBA and the champions change more often than not outside of some historic stuff with the Celtics and the Lakers. So it really doesn't matter what sport you play. You look at the college football playoff. I mean, there's so many different sports, the World Cup, and what we've seen on the women's side, on the men's side. It's not that every single time we're seeing the same team hoist the trophy. So there's something to be said about getting back there, because in any sport, any level, it's really hard to do. Do you feel a sense of pride? Do you feel a sense of positivity? Is it something that you can hang your hat on as a program to say, we have the championship in 2021, but we've been there so many times, and teams that get paid, players that get paid millions of dollars professionally all around the world don't make it back to a championship maybe ever after they do it one time?
Yeah. First of all, I'm a positive person, so I look at this like it's certainly an achievement. I could be sad and disappointed. Actually, it's 4 national championship final games appearances in the 4 years, so 4 consecutive ones.
Yeah.
It speaks about, again, the work that we've done, and yes, it's kind of, bittersweet. Oh, we made it, but we only won it once. We lost 3 finals. Well, at the beginning of the season, every single time I say, if somebody tells me that I'm going to make the national championship final again, I'd be happy. I'd be a great season, thank you. When you're there in the moment, you just kind of disappointed, sad, heartbroken. You see the girls crying, you see parents, like kind of being there in the stands. Everyone is a little sad, but it's an experience. It's certainly something that will carry on and will be in everyone's memory for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, it speaks about, again, the consistency and the level and the work that has been done here at Bryant Stratton. Being there once, yeah, you can call it, oh, you're lucky. Being there twice shows all about your level. Going there again, it's certainly consistency, but it's also lots of work. It's lots of work behind the scene that not many people and not many coaches see, right? That's hours and hours spent on the phone recruiting and communicating with those families, looking for those players, looking for those qualified student athletes that would be a good fit for the program. It's a lot of nights and days away from my daughter and my family, right? Just going away again, recruiting, looking and searching all over the place, for those quality players. It's about a relationship that I develop with those club coaches, with those, and both nationally, internationally, locally, out of state, like out of the country, from a different continent, so all of that, it's kind of a lot of work behind the scene that is done, like everything for that one moment, for that one game. And me as a coach, I'm almost like my goals this year, they were wonderful, after the game, like a week or two, like they coach, you never talk to us about after the national championship game, after the final, about the game. Why? I said, like, well, I think everyone needs a little bit time, first of all, like there is a lot of emotion and stuff. For me, it was a lot of fatigue. Like, certainly, I was exhausted. It was an exhausting season for us. But it's also just like analysis starts right away. And just to compare two finals back to back this year and last year, we played the same team, we played the same program. It's an NCAA Division II school, that has a dual membership, with the USCAA. Solid program, great program, and I learned, we learned, like, and we improved as a program, we improved as a team, I improved as a coach. It's an experience that I will carry on again in my career for the rest of my career, like how to handle certain situations, how to handle certain developments that happening on the field in the final game, because you have so many thoughts in your head. You have a little bit of emotions, too, because everyone is a little nervous, so being able to lead and being able to make adjustments, make those crucial decisions at the game time, that certainly doesn't happen overnight. You learn from that, and you learn from that, like by being there and playing there. And even losing, it's still an experience, it's a great experience. So again, just to summarize, I'm super proud. I'm happy that we had a chance to play 4 national championship in a row. I'm happy that we had some individual accolades. Yes, of course, I would like to see a couple more trophies on that shelf right there, than just one. But I'm also, happy, and I know that this might be the last one, or you might not do it again next year, So I'm trying, and I teach my team, and I taught the girls, and I told the girls to celebrate every win, every success at the national pool, after every single game, after second game on the pool play, because you don't know when this is going to happen again, So certainly enjoy and enjoy the moment.
That celebration of the moment for you, go ahead and drink some water. You could drink some. Mine's off camera. But to have this run that you've had, and I mean, you have your love for soccer, you played, you have this team, you said it, when it comes to building a team every single year, you never know if you're going to go back again. You never know if you're going to be there again. And yet you've been to 4 in a row. One of those, you emerge as national champions. That is every year putting together a team, talking to recruits, seeing who's coming back, making sure that everybody's good. Is their housing good? Are they academically doing everything that they need to do? How's everything with their family? I mean, you have people from all over the world that I've sat at a table with your student athletes before, and I was sitting with 4 countries that were not America. And I looked down the line and I said to myself, Bryant Stratton in my hometown gives me this United Nations feel that you don't get anywhere else. I mean, we're talking about NCAA Division I programs that can't say we have 19 student athletes and we're coming from 9 different countries. I mean, for you, you have reached out, you're recruiting just tentacles everywhere, and you've built these bridges all over the world with these coaches. It's not as simple as I talk to coaches down in Binghamton, and I talk to coaches in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I talk to coaches in Cleveland, Ohio. You're speaking with coaches all over the world, on different continents, in different countries. So I want to give credit to that background. You said you're a positive person, you're a nice person, you're always talking to me about other people, but you have built a program here that is a consistent national contender with a consistent international connection, and you have bridges all over the world. I mean, I think that needs to be stated, spotlit, and really just honed in on that, not just to America, but to the world. I mean, we have a coach here in Syracuse that has connected our community, our city, this brand to almost every single continent. I mean,
That's true.
I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you, thank you. And I would add to that that this is young ladies, this is women's soccer, which is with my daughter growing, and she's 11 and 2 days actually she's gonna turn 11, and I just kind of look in the perspective, and I would be terrified sending her somewhere overseas. I'm terrified sending her a couple streets down the road, for a sleepover, these days, but sending her somewhere, like overseas to study, to play soccer, some program and stuff. This is I give credit to those parents, and when there is a video this year, we actually before the national championship tournament, I had a chance to connect with almost the entire family, to every single parent or somebody close to our players, and they send a fantastic video that makes you cry. You don't even understand half of the languages that they speak, but parents just wishing good luck and just saying some words of encouragement, like to our girls and our team.
Yeah.
And we watched that video before our first game, and there was a lot of tears, but a lot of tears of joy and pride, And that's what it is. It's about building the trust with their parents, trust with those players, trust with those coaches, because it's not easy, And I learned this kind of some of the recruiting, or a lot of recruiting. I certainly learned from Coach Nick, who is my mentor. Like I played for him, and then transitioning into coaching just to see, and kind of. We always talk about coaches are the biggest and the best thieves, right? So we're trying to steal some approaches, and some strategies from each other, and when somebody is willing to share, makes it even more enjoyable and pleasant, So
yeah,
and that's what it is, just kind of keep working, being consistent, and try to deliver. When I tell a parent that your daughter will be safe and she'll be taken care here, I better make sure that that's exactly what it is, because next year is not going to happen, or there will be no next year, Did we have bad or not so successful stories? Well, you always have a couple of those, and that's how you build, and that's how you learn, and that's how you continue to grow, by learning somewhere from your success, somewhere from your failures, and that's part of the process, So, and I want to make sure that again, I try to deliver what I promise, or I tell those parents and those families, because I want to make sure they go back and they talk about us. I want to make sure they go back in 3, 4, 5 years when I make a call. Hey, do you have any players? I'm looking for a central back, and those players not only answer to me or reply to my like text message or a phone call. They actually have somebody, and I'll speak to them,
Yeah.
And this year was a fantastic example. My former player, All-American and team captain, she graduated about 6-7 years ago, and it was a phone call, that I made to her, like I'm looking for a goalkeeper and somebody in the like a defender and stuff. She's like, Coach, I got you, and she helped. We figured out. She assisted throughout the process and stuff, and that's how it is. And those kind of stories are all over every single year. A couple of those stories, a couple of those players, former players, step up, and they step up because they know exactly what's going to happen here and what to expect here from us.
The NCAA is going through name, image, and likeness.
Yep.
The transfer portal. There are schools jumping in the transfer portal, if you will, jumping conferences. There's coaches that are constantly leaving. There's thousands of players that go into the portal, and they're re-recruiting their teams every single year. You function at Bryant Stratton of Syracuse inside of the USCAA.
Yep.
What does it mean to you to see everything that's happening with the NCAA, all the craziness, the lack of parameters, the lack of rules and regulations, the lack of a fence around the horses, so to speak, and that at the USCAA, there's still purity of sports, love for sports, education. What does that mean to see all the things the NCAA is trying to work through, and at the USCAA, you don't have that. You have the opportunity to truly live in the purity of sports and talk to student athletes about the things that should matter, about coaches and relationships and being honest and telling the truth and building those connections, getting a good education, becoming a good parent down the road, a good kid, just what all that means.
I think just like everything in our life, everything is changing, So NCAA goes through a transition for sure, And I had a fantastic conversation over the summer with a top junior college program, and we talked about recruiting, And he shared with me how much transfer portal affected junior college, because he said something. I used to receive about 100 calls about my players transferring.
Yeah.
Now I'm lucky if I receive one or two calls because everyone looks into transfer portal. Everyone, and that's kind of part of the cycle, part of the process. Like NCAA goes through this now. Who knows? Maybe USCAA will go through this at some point. Because USCAA is still a growing league, a growing tournament. It's a well-established one. And we might get affected. Like we might get affected by probably NCAA, roster size. Like that is going to come in place soon. So we might get affected soon by transfer portal. Who knows? For now we enjoying and we accepting the reality of the USCAA. However, I always kind of keep an eye on the NCAA because I know, that's where it starts and then just kind of goes, almost like a chain reaction, So I want to make sure I'm prepared. I want to make sure, just like with coaching, the way I coached 15 years ago,
Yeah.
it's not the same way I coach these days. Like I learn, I adjusted. I'm trying to kind of stay, like active and always learn and always trying to understand, what are the new trends, what are the new tendencies in recruiting and coaching and other aspects of the game, So same thing over here, I think it's either we like it or not. It's part of the process and part of the change, and everything, So we just gotta be ready, be prepared, and do our best to deliver, and still remember that we do this because of the love of the game and for the game.
For the love of the game, coaching for all the years that you have and having all the success that you've had, what keeps you passionate? What keeps you in it? What keeps you focused? I mean, knowing that, okay, we get to the national championship.
Yep.
Next year we got to start all over. We got to try and get all the way back here. What, when you have those rough nights, when you call a recruit and they say they're going to commit and then they don't respond to a message for 3 weeks or something like that, when you're going through the ebbs and flows and the adversity and the different things that happen, what makes Alex Grigorita stay passionate, stay focused, stay humble and hungry to do it again?
It's simple, it's a lifestyle. I love the game. I enjoy the game. I'm passionate about the game. I wish I would say this is the only thing I know in my life, and that's all. I do other things, and I do other things because of several reasons. First of all, because it truly helps me to sometimes get disconnected from the game. Because as coaches or as people who work in any sport, right, you do burn out. And that's a huge problem in my opinion, like for coaches. You see a coach been successful for 1, 2, 3 years, 4th year, you look like the team is not the same, the coach is not the same, like this coach doesn't know how to coach anymore or something. But coaches do burn out. We do get tired, we do get sometimes desperate and like an even worse problems, and stuff. And I truly believe you have to find sometimes somewhere like a balance, or so we gotta find time to do something else. I do several other activities, just to help me disconnect from coaching sometimes, from soccer sometimes. Sometimes learn something else just to apply that in soccer, in my coaching style and stuff, So the other day, actually, I had a fantastic, experience at the firehouse, like being a volunteer firefighter in my hometown, like we had fantastic training, and that was just such a good, positive learning some new skills, being around some people that have some other interest than soccer and sport and college and stuff like that, making new building new relationship and stuff like that, just kind of helps you.
Yeah.
Because now or today or tomorrow or yesterday when I talk to a recruit or I talk to a college coach and stuff, I get this excitement again. I remember that no matter what I do, soccer is my primary, like love and occupation, and I love seeing myself, being involved, like soccer, and sports overall. I know that it's not just about me; it's about the other 20, 25 student athletes that I have, and I'm responsible for them. It's also, I help a bunch of, kids in my community, and I'm trying to teach them the basics of soccer and make sure understand the fundamentals of soccer, along with the love of the game, and that's what we gotta remember. We play a sport, no matter what sport it is,
Yeah.
because we love the sport, and that's how. And we're trying, and my goal is to try to keep that love for the sport as long as I can, and those kids and those student athletes, and then myself too, and everything else will just kind of come after that with lots of work for sure.
Yeah, and it's fun. And I mean, we're seeing here at Bryant Stratton, I mean, we're going into a new chapter.
Yep.
There's going to be change. There's different things that are going on.
Yep.
You talked about, your mentor, Nick
Yep.
Dimitrievsky. The USCAA continues to grow. What are you excited for when you look forward for Bryant Stratton Syracuse, when you look forward for the USCAA?
With the USCAA, certainly, I see that so many schools are joining and are so many new programs, like even this year, we had some exciting programs, coming all the way from West Coast, from Texas, like Florida, consistent delivers, some strong programs, and just seeing that grow, like not just locally, just seeing that grow all over the country, certainly makes me just a little excited at the same time. Oh my God, I gotta make sure, like I get back to work, and just kind of keeps you going, keeps you like lack of the better word, keeps you young, and stuff like that. And I always say I've been coaching for a while. I'm still a young coach somehow, and stuff. But that's what the excitement is, just seeing the growth of the sport, at the youth level, at the college level, at the semi-professional level, at the professional level, at the international level, and that's exciting, for sure.
Rapid fire. We always do.
All right.
We have the opportunity to do that. I'm going to defer to you here in this edition of the Bobcat Buzz in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Bryant Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. Women's soccer head coach Alex Grigorita, of course myself, Dan Tortora, on campus at Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse. There's two campuses that you can go to here in Central New York, right here on James Street, just outside of the city of Syracuse, up the road. And you can also go across from Avicoli's and get some really good lunch and dinner while you go to school. That's right there on Route 57 in Liverpool. So I'm going to let you ask the first question for our rapid fire in this Bobcat Buzz. What do you have for me?
All right, let's start with with today.
Okay.
You were about 20 minutes late.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
I love the fact that you said that. Yeah, I was paying my mortgage and I left my house late. So yeah,
no excuses.
It is my fault. Yes.
What do you feel, right, when you are running late
Yes.
to a meeting, and what do you feel when a coach is running late to a meeting and makes you wait? Just what goes through your head? What's your first thought? And again, you were great, you communicated, and stuff like that. But what truly goes through your mind? So
I feel terrible when I'm late because I value people's time. I know that we only have so much time on this earth. I know that time is precious. So I feel terrible. I apologize. I feel bad to God. I feel bad to you that I was late today. It genuinely makes me feel terrible. When a coach is late, or so as a business owner, if I'm looking to partner with a business, if they show up late to the meeting, it's like this like underbelly thing where it's like, if you're trying to work with someone and you're asking them to work with you and build a partnership and whatever, that they can be late, and that if a coach is late, they could be late. And I'm not going to say who it is, but there was a coach that we had our first sit-down interview, and he was almost 2 hours late. And he just walked in and was like, hey, man, sorry, and then I had to wait again, and he was doing some other stuff, and then I went in. And so, I mean, to me, I think there's, in the world I live in, coaches can be late, business owners can be late, but I better never be late. And the way that I was raised by my parents is you don't ever be late. So I was late today and I felt bad. Thank you for bringing it up. But I do want to let the record state that I was an hour early when we did the selection show.
You were.
So, yeah, I feel terrible I was late today, though. So, back to you. Have you ever been late for anything? And when you're late, how do you feel? How do you handle it? How do you kind of deal with all that stuff?
I'm very similar, So I was raised, with a little bit more structure, right, and kind of taught the way, like you just can't be late, So, and with my team, obviously, I have young women from all over the world, and they have different culture, different time management, different approaches, to that. We always kind of joke about, if in Spain you show up to a meeting with 5 minutes before the meeting starts, you are the first one. In Germany, you are the last one. Well, in Caribbean islands, you probably not even want to see big lock on the door, with 5 minutes. So those kind of different approaches and stuff, we try to combine and bring everything to a common sense, what I'm saying, and somewhere where everyone is comfortable. I hate being late. I don't like it, like at the same time, I'm very understanding and I kind of get it, like everything happens, as long as it's not consistent and stuff, and then I'm trying to certainly not be late. If I am late, same thing. I just feel like the world is collapsing and falling apart, and that's all. I'm the worst person ever, and everything else, So that's for sure.
Okay, fair. What's your next question, Fran?
Next question. It just came to my mind. Jeez, we've been waiting for this interview for almost the entire season, So
that's
how
your
do you,
fault.
That's your fault. How do you feel about?
You've been late all season. That's how I look at it.
And that just kind of goes, during the season, your mind is just focused on so many things, And again, this our communication, us talking about the game, talking about the sport, talking about the college, talking about our community, like helps us grow the sport, helps us develop the sport. So this is important for us to talk, and there is no excuse for me to, not that I wasn't answering, but just keep delaying, this interview.
I was like, we normally
next
do
week, next week.
Yeah, we do the preseason, we do your student athletes, we do during the season. I was like, is he in a different mindset right now? Where is he at right now?
No, that just kind of, one more time shows that this season certainly was one of the most challenging one, from coaching standpoint and stuff. But the question is, was there ever a question that you wanted to ask a coach? And you don't have to say who's the coach, ask him, but you always kind of hesitated, but like really burns you to find out and find the answer to some kind of question, And if yes, what was the question? And it doesn't have to be college or professional or youth level or high school and stuff like that. But just kind of, I'm always wondering, is there a question that you really, really want to ask, but you can't for several reasons or certain reasons?
Yeah. Is Peak, are you here? Sean? Yeah. Okay. So Sean Peak, the baseball coach. I just want you to hear this answer to this question. So it doesn't have to do with you, don't worry. But because he's going to be able to figure it out, and so are you. So the question was, has there ever been a question that I want to ask a coach that is just burning inside of me to ask him, but I didn't ask? And yes, there's two coaches. It's the same problem. I don't understand it since I played basketball growing up. And if I was an 80% free throw shooter, I got pissed off and I stayed outside usually and kept shooting free throws. I don't understand how there is a Division I basketball program in a premier conference that does not make free throws. And I want to ask the question, but there's no real way to ask the question because what do you say? It's like you missed them. What's a coach going to say? We're supposed to make them. But what are you doing in practice? So you're a coach. Sean's a coach. This is how I feel this should be handled. Every free throw that this team misses in a game, that's one suicide. Up, down, whatever you want to call it. It's one. If you miss 15, it's 15. If you feel like you're going to die after running 15 suicides, don't miss free throws. There's two things. You can either make them run, that's one, Or every time they miss a free throw in practice, you take a cold ice water bucket and throw it on them. That's the only way to deal with it, because whatever they're doing in this Division I program, it's not working. And I don't know how to ask the question, because it's like, are the mechanics wrong? Is there not enough? I mean, but the thing is, they miss them at home. And they miss them at home sometimes more than they do on the road. So it can't be crowd noise. It can't be like people saying stuff to them. It can't be like, we're not at home, I'm not sleeping in my bed. But it's a free throw. There's nobody there. It's you in the basket. You have 10 seconds to shoot. It's beyond me. But how to ask the question, why are you missing free throws, knowing that a coach is like, yeah, well, we need to make them. And what does a coach always say? We practice them. But as far as I'm concerned, this team must shoot about 5 a practice, because there's no, like, they need, your Division I, you need to make them. And if you're a guard, you need to be 90%. If you're a forward, you need to be 80%. If you're a center in this world's basketball, you need to be better than 65%. Nobody on this team is like better than 50% at times. It drives me nuts. So,
I'll
Sean, you know who I'm talking about? Yep.
I'll defend the coaches in this kind of situation, and I have to step up for the coaches, for all the coaches in this world, So very similar in soccer. You practice PKs. You do practice PKs, and you would think you would.
But that's so much high octane.
No.
That's harder to do than a free throw.
No.
Okay.
No.
There's nobody
That is-
standing at the
that
basket
is-
on a free throw that's going to block your shot.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's still.
I'm defending soccer over basketball.
You cannot simulate, no matter what you do. You cannot, create the same setting. We always talk about, right, in soccer. Practice the way you play. Practice at the same pace. Practice at the same energy. Practice with the same. No matter what happens, you cannot recreate the same setting and practice that you do in the games, right?
Yeah.
Good example. In our final game of the pool, right? We went to PKs. Fortunately, we scored and we won. We won the whole series. Like we had one miss, and that PK was missed by a player who didn't miss a single PK in practice. Mm-hmm. And again, we were, I don't know, experienced enough to practice those PKs, so I had an idea. And I think what made the difference that I had an idea. Not only in soccer, you gotta assign the first 5 shooters or kickers, right?
Yeah.
And then if it goes to sudden death, you have to have your number 6, 7, and 8 already kind of in your mind. So I think that's what made the difference. We had first 7 assigned already. We knew exactly who the people are going to be. Compared to the other team who they knew only their 5, and when it came to number 6, they start kind of scrambling and they didn't really have a plan. But it goes back to, you can practice as much as you want. You can do, once you're there, once you're in front of thousands of people, right, watching you, and you might have the other team, fans, booing at you and calling your names. You have your home crowd, if you miss, they're gonna absolutely tear you apart, and talk all kinds of things about and say all kinds of things about you, right? Same thing in soccer. When you know that the national championship, the final game is right there, and all depends on your kick, and you better make it, because otherwise the team is gonna lose, and everyone's gonna blame you. It's a lot, it's a lot of pressure for those young student athletes, so sometimes not everything goes as we planned. However, I understand your point as well, but probably goes back to the way we coached 15, 20 years ago. It's not the same way we coach these days, so just like some of the discipline or some of the other things, like we used back in the day, we can't use these days either, probably, or, not as much and stuff like that, so.
Lock him in the gym and make him shoot free throws.
Here we go.
My question to you is, if you could interview anyone yourself, who would you want to interview and why?
These days I would absolutely die. Probably one person I would love to have a sit down, maybe 2 people, so I would definitely I would love to interview Jesse Marsh. He's at this point he's men's Canada, soccer coach, head coach. Just seeing his work, and I've been following this coach probably for the past 5 to 10, probably right before COVID. And during COVID, he was so nice because he was actually joining all of those coaching conferences and just giving his insight on systems, on the way he coaches soccer, and not just talking surface,
Yeah.
but actually going in depth and opening some real practice and just kind of explaining the point or what was his goal in practices. I was unbelievable, and since then I was watching his career, and I'm still watching his career, closely. And this coach was successful at every single club, and now the national team level, where he works or where he worked, so to interview him would be very, very exciting, so, and probably the second coach that I would probably interview, it's certainly our legend, Coach Jill, who is currently former U.S. women's national coach, and right now she just was assigned as one of the biggest position in the FIFA, which I look this as an exciting moment for women's soccer, because I know she will promote women's soccer, she will promote, or we can say women's football, right, throughout the world. And when I saw the appointment, and one of the higher ups in the rankings in FIFA, I was so excited. And my first thought was, finally, people are looking at women's soccer as a sport, as a exciting sport, and the future for women's soccer is huge. It's huge, and I take pride, that I've been coaching women's soccer. My goal is to coach women's soccer, and obviously with some changes that we had at Bryant Stratton, with Coach Nick, moving to nice, warm, lovely Florida, and position being available, never even crossed my mind, to try to go on the men's side, I am committed to women's soccer and women's soccer game, and I'm excited that finally FIFA first of all, looked over United States and said, hey, they've done something right on the women's game.
Yeah.
Let's try to take their experience. Let's try to take their legendary coach, legendary manager, right? Legendary, promoter of the game, and help us, guide us to develop the game and grow the game, at all the levels. That's something that certainly will have impact, and I hope we have impact sooner than later. We already see a lot of signs and a lot of development in all levels. So I just hope it keeps going the same and even faster.
I love it. What's your last question for me?
There's one more.
You got one more.
Oh, that's gonna be simple.
You always ask me hard ones.
Holiday season is coming,
Yeah.
right? So, two questions. First of all, which coaches would you like to sit at the table if you have to choose, for Christmas Eve, so.
If I'm having Christmas Eve
Yes,
dinner? Okay.
Yes. Let's say 3 coaches.
Okay.
3 coaches.
Well, I invite you to parties all the time and you don't come, so.
Okay. Next question. Just kidding. Just kidding. And then, what would be your one gift that you would like Santa to bring you? If you have to ask for one thing from Santa, what would you like that to be? So it's just kind of 2 questions.
So if I could sit with any coaches.
Yeah, 3 of them.
3 of them. That's tough. I mean, well, honestly, it would be nice to have a Bryant Stratton Christmas because I have a relationship with all the coaches here. I know that, well, Sean, he didn't come to the last thing either. So, I love you, Sean. Or Tay. Clay was out, what was it? Clay out of town? Maybe Sean was out of town with Clay. But, so, I have a good connection with Sean, good with you, good with Tay, good with Clay. So, I think for me to have like a Bryant Stratton Christmas would be fun. And I know, all jokes aside, we're always running around and doing stuff, and I know that even if I don't see you guys there or I can't come, we know that we support each other. And so I would like to have a Bryant Stratton Christmas, a little blue tree. And the gift that I want is the gift that I wanted from when I was 10 years old. I want a hoverboard from Back to the Future 2. I want a skateboard that actually hovers over the ground. and I want to go to Universal Studios on my hoverboard, and I want to live a life like Michael J. Fox.
Okay. I do buy the gift idea, but Bryant Stratton coaches, I don't buy that. So let's try again.
No, I think it would be a good Christmas. I have a good relationship with you guys.
All right. Is there one coach outside of Bryant Stratton, somebody who you would certainly would love to?
Well, I will put it to you like this. When I had to go out of town and get up extremely early the next day, who did I meet out at Jake Hafner's? I saw all you guys. So, like, if I was invited in other places and I knew I had to get up early, I might not go. But I went and saw you all, so I will say that. And, yeah, if I had to pick one coach to sit and have Christmas dinner with, I'd probably pick Fran Brown.
Wow.
Because him and I have a good relationship, both believe in God, both have spent time off the air talking about more important stuff than just football. And he was really nice about my 21 years in broadcasting. Stopped a press conference to talk about it, which I did not anticipate. So I would say with Fran, I'd like to go into the community on Christmas Eve, give back, do some stuff to help people out, make sure they have food and gifts, go to like the Samaritan Center, go downtown and whatnot, and then just have a dinner where him and I talk about life, have some good food, and then watch some movies and laugh. So I'd pick Fran Brown.
Nice. I don't know, Coach Brown, obviously, he's been pretty new to the community and stuff, and I would never ever even go because I have very little knowledge about football. So I wouldn't get to that point, and the difference is what he and his coaching staff brought to the program, but just to watching him, obviously from your podcast, and interviews and stuff, and then on TV, he just, for me, he's just probably a perfect role model and a leader that comes into a room, and certainly everyone just wants to follow him, wants to follow his lead, want to be part of his team, and looks like they certainly ready to go to war for him, So that's my impression, and watching his interviews every time or stuff, it's just kind of, you want to watch more. You're just like, give me more, Coach Brown. Give me more, So certainly a great role model for all of us too, And just needless to say, his passion for the program and for the game is just like unbelievable. Certainly unbelievable, So that's that.
Yeah. So that's what I would pick. My last one for you is, if you were going to buy me anything this Christmas to apologize for not being at my 21-year celebration, what would you buy? By the way, you were at a national championship with your team. That's why you couldn't come.
Yes.
So, no, if you could buy me a gift for Christmas, knowing me for over 3 years now, you can't say the hoverboard. What would you buy me?
Well, looks like your mic got a little bent.
Yeah, somebody going through security a million times.
Like.
Thanks, TSA.
I would buy you like a nice one, like a golden one, with some shiny, so you.
Okay.
To replace
this is my favorite mic too, and it's got a little ding in it thanks to it going through security 100 times, and they always take it out, and then they always try to shove it back. I was like, I'll put it back. I was like, if you guys are done, I'll put it back in. Don't, I'll fix it. So with that being said, Bobcat Buzz exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse, the Bobcats, women's soccer head coach Alex Grigorita, myself, Dan Tortora, on campus at Bryant Stratton. A great place to go to be a student and to be a student athlete. And you can reach out and find out more by going to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and searching Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse in general on any of your favorite search engines. Alex, as always, it's my pleasure.
Thank you so much for your time. We finally did it.
Yes, we did it. I appreciate you, and I look forward to what's coming up this season.
Thank you.
We'll talk with you all soon. Be safe, and God bless.